On the pod today, the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Pramila Jayapal. Welcome and congratulations on starting your second term.
Thank you so much. It's hard to believe it's already here.
It is here. Big day. So you're the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. What does that job entail, and what do you hope that progressives can achieve in an era of divided government with Trump as president? What's the strategy for the next 2 years?
Yeah.
Is it going to be about...
Well, we're thrilled. The Progressive Caucus is the largest it has been and probably the most progressive it's been in quite some time. We have over 94 members, and we continue to have members wanting to join the CPC. And so that's a significant number for us to be able to move critical priorities that have been at the top of the list for working families and progressives across the country. And that includes everything from $15 minimum wage to our Progressive Caucus budget, which every year is sort of our statement of our values, as well as moving big pieces of legislation like Medicare for All. And so I think that this is a great moment for us to, as we take control here in the House momentarily, to really be able to talk about these ideas from the perspective of what they do for the economics and for the opportunities of people across the country. And so being the co-chair means that we try to keep the caucus as aligned as we can. We try to develop strategy. We work with inside and outside. So we work with all our progressive allies on the outside to really build the movement and the infrastructure to help make these changes real.
Is the strategy to get votes on major pieces of legislation like Medicare for All within the next 2 years, or are you sort of working to build support until, 2020 when hopefully there's a Democratic president?
It really varies depending on the issue. On Medicare for All, I can say it here first. I don't think there was a big article that just came out in the Washington Post, but I just secured a commitment from Speaker Pelosi, Speaker-designate, soon-to-be Speaker Pelosi, on holding hearings on Medicare for All. And I'll be taking over that bill and introducing the legislation shortly. And so with Medicare for All, we will hold hearings, and we'll see how much energy and momentum we can really build between 2020 and the presidential elections, as well as sort of the strategies on the inside and the outside. And if we can get there, of course we'd love to have a vote. But I am also somebody who recognizes we're talking about a massive transformation that is long overdue of the healthcare system. But massive transformations don't come easy, and we've got to build it. And we have to do that at multiple levels. And so the hearings will be a critical piece for Medicare for All. On some other things like, infrastructure and jobs and a $15 minimum wage, the support levels may be differing. And so we may be ready for a vote on some of these critical pieces of legislation. Democracy reform will have H.R. 1 coming out. I'm the co-sponsor of, the lead sponsor of a big anti-corruption bill, that's Senator Warren's bill in the Senate. And so each of these things has a slightly different strategy, but what we have to do is be thoughtful, strategic, and recognize that you really need a strategy for how to move it within Congress, as well as a strategy for how you build support on the outside. So all of those things are a part of it.
On Congresswoman, on what is a very joyous day, obviously, for Democrats who work so hard to regain power in this country, this is also happening while the government is partially shut down and hundreds of thousands of people are either not working or working without pay. How do you and the Congressional Democrats plan to bring this shutdown to an end?
Well, first of all, it is absolutely outrageous that this president and the Republicans have allowed this, but that they have put 800,000 people across the country in jeopardy of not being able to pay their rent, of not being able to make their everyday living, and all because of a vanity wall. I think it's important to just remember that Republicans did control until today the House, the Senate, and the White House, and still were not able to keep the government going. So we will vote immediately on a couple of proposals, both of which have passed the Senate in a bipartisan way to bring the shutdown to an end. There's not going to be more border wall money, but there is an agreement that passed the Senate with bipartisan support around how we continue the government either until February 8th with a certain amount of money for border security, but not for a wall, or that we continue to have these discussions but pass appropriations bills for all the other pieces except Homeland Security. So we have a couple of different options on the table, but I think it's really, really outrageous that this president has even admitted publicly that he just can't look foolish before the American people. Well, if you don't want to look foolish, then don't be foolish. And let's reopen the government and let's get these 800,000 workers back to work.
Is there any kind of deal or compromise around border security or immigration that House Democrats would accept other than just funding DHS at last year's levels? Or is this just basically, we're going to wait for Trump. We're going to wear Trump down here and wait for him to blink because we're not giving him anything more than the CR?
Well, I don't know what compromise really looks like with a president who has done everything he can to limit even legal immigration. And if you think about it, you guys certainly remember 2013 and the bipartisan immigration reform bill that passed in 2013. I worked very hard on that. Do you know that we have almost put as much money into border security since 2013 as what was contained in the 2013 bill, and yet with no fundamental reform of the system itself? Yeah. Nothing for undocumented immigrants, nothing for DACA recipients. And I remember in 2013 when John McCain said, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for this because I don't think we need all this money for border security, but we're getting so much in return that that's the nature of compromise. What this president has done is moved the rhetoric and the xenophobia so far to the right, and every time insisted on essentially shutting down asylum, shutting down refugee seeking, shutting down family reunification, that it's difficult to talk about what a compromise means. Democrats have always put money into border security. That has been true for a long time. Some of us think too much. But now we really need to reform the underlying system and make sure that we continue to be a country that allowed that opportunity for somebody like me who came here when I was 16 years old by myself with nothing in my pocket and now get to be a member of Congress. That is the America that we're so proud of, and we need to make sure that we continue to advance that vision and not some, crazy xenophobic discriminatory vision that this president puts forward.
Congresswoman, if I understand correctly, you have said that even though you oppose the idea of PAYGO, you're going to vote for the Democratic rules package that includes PAYGO. I'm curious as to, A, why you're doing that, and B, what your level of concern is that the House Democrats are putting, could be seen as putting their stamp on sort of a centrist economic view of deficits.
Yeah, none of us think in the Progressive Caucus, none of us like that PAYGO is in this rules package, and we have raised it multiple times to Rules Chairman McGovern, to Nancy Pelosi, and we did a lot of work to try to get it out. And what we have managed to do, though, is also recognize that, number one, statutory PAYGO is the law, and if we really want to eliminate the need for offsets, then we can't do it through the rules package. We have to change the law. So we are introducing, Mark Pocan and I, a bill to repeal PAYGO. Obviously, that stands very little chance of passing the Senate with this Senate. But I think we still have to recognize that we got a tremendous amount from this package, including making sure that we got rid of the 3/5 rule, making sure that we could get votes on a number of issues that are critical to us, and just this morning ensuring that we got not only commitments to waive the rules so we could have hearings on critical pieces of progressive legislation, but also now the Speaker's commitment to hearings on Medicare for All. First time ever that we will have hearings on Medicare for All in the House. So we have to just be clear on what we're trying to achieve and make sure that we try to stay as aligned as possible, fight for as much as possible, and then also pick our battles. And so we understand, because this is statutory, they can't just fix it by taking out of the rules package. So I am going to vote for it. I wish PAYGO wasn't in it. We did everything we could to stop it. We got a lot of great things in return that we wanted out of the rules package, and in terms of commitments.
Thanks for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.